everybody, this is Pam with Jesus Junk Journals, and we're getting ready to do December, the very last month of this planner. And I've been trying to keep it super simple, but I think I'm going to do something that's not so simple today. And you can always go in and glue your 3 pockets, so don't worry if you don't want to do something complicated, you don't have to. But I'm going to use a regular lunch sack, and I'm going to chop off a piece that's about the length right under December. So I'm going to go right under here, make a mark, and then I'm going to fold it over here so I have the mark on the same exact spot, so I can cut a sort of almost straight line. And that's going to be on the wrong side, so let me mark that, get my ruler, cut it off, and that's not even close. So what you have now is you have these gussets of this bag, which is really just a piece of folded paper inside here. And so you can do this one of 2 ways. If you want to do it the simple way, you could just glue these right along the edge and just glue those and use this. I'm, of course, going to do things the hard way. I am going to glue this gusset back in. So I'm going to run just a little bit of glue right along this edge as close as I can, and then glue this back together. I'm basically just making a smaller bag. Like, whoops. Of course, you have to let it actually glue. Have to let it dry. And then you're going to glue this to the back side. So you basically just glued your bag back together with a gusset. It's just smaller now. And then the same thing on this side. You're just going to put glue on here, close to the edge as you can get it. Glue the gusset back together, back into it. And I kind of got the glue, I was kind of sloppy with the glue, so I'm going to lift that up, make sure I don't glue it where I don't want it glued there. Okay. And then glue this edge. It's kind of like taking a dress in that's too big, or a skirt or something like that if you sew. Now we've got this at a size that fits behind this. And so I'm going to go ahead, I think I'll go ahead and trim this off where this little cutout is. And actually, I'm going to mark it because I want to cut it just a little bit smaller than that. So I'm going to go just this side of the lines that I made. Okay. So on this, what I'm going to do is cut 3. I want this in thirds, and I've done this. I did this on another video. It's 6.5 inches that I cut off of. What I did is I made another print of the December printout. So I made 2 prints of this, cut it out, and I cut 6.5 inches, chopped off December. That gave me this piece right here. So what that comes to, here it is, 6.5 inches divided by 3 is 2 1/6 inch. And the problem is your ruler doesn't show 1/6. And so what you end up doing is you kind of guess or kind of eyeball where a 1/6 is. And so it ends up being about like this. That was my guesstimate with a ruler. But what I do, which is probably just as accurate, and I like this method better. Let me show it to you. So what I do is I take a piece of paper and I just cut it to the length of whatever I'm dividing into chunks. And so I know that I want it in thirds. So what I do is I take this piece of paper and I start to fold it into thirds like this. And I just kind of keep shifting it around until it gets sort of somewhat evenly divided. And it's never perfect. So let me show you. See how there's extra there? So this third is not really a third. It's short. However, if I use these as my dividers, no matter what happens, this is all going to come together and be the right size. Whereas if I try to guess this and I do 3 pieces that long, I'm going to come up short or long on one of them anyway. So to me, this is just as accurate. Make a little mark so I can see where the fold is. And so let me show you what. So here was my guess. So this is a little bit shorter. This piece is just a little bit longer. And then this piece is going to be a little bit shorter. So if I had used this piece here, I would have run out of paper. It wouldn't have come out right anyway. So I just think you're better off to do this and just divide it into 3 pieces. Visually, I don't think you're going to be able to tell if one's slightly off or not. So I'm just going to take this like a little ruler and mark my marks. And then take the same little piece of paper. Let me make sure I got that. Yeah, that's close enough. And then bring it just like this. Don't turn it around or anything, or it'll get messed up. So take it from here to this side, make your same marks. So even though it will be off, it will be equally off. Does that make sense? So your pieces will work better. So now I'm going to take this, and I'm also going to do one more thing. I don't want this to bind up in the where it's bound into a signature. So I'm going to cut a strip off of this right now. And I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm just going to cut like that much off. Just so it doesn't give me any trouble later. Okay, so now I'm going to, did I mark that? Oh, I cut it off. Okay, so cut that off before you measure. Okay, let's try this one more time. So see, it's upside down. And so this is how it goes. Okay, so I'm gonna, oh, brother. Make a little mark there. And so now I'm gonna cut this into 3 pieces. And if you don't want to use an X-Acto knife, you can just make a pencil mark and use your scissors or trimming board or cutter, however you want to do it. So now you've cut your picture into 3 parts. Okay, so this is going to be, so what I'm going to do is lay this over this. This is just slightly bigger. So I'm going to stick it out. Let's see, December I cut that edge off. That's what happened. I forgot about that. So actually, we should have made it just a little bit smaller, but I think it's going to be okay. Okay, so I'm going to cut this off. Cut this little piece off here. And make sure it fits behind it. And it looks like it's just a little bit bigger right there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut a little edge off of it. And you can use a ruler if you want, but you know, I don't like rulers. Okay, rulers or rules. Okay. So this is your bottom. So what you're going to do is glue. This is going to be like a little pocket, a little accordion pocket. And so you're going to just glue it shut. The other thing you could do is use some you can use washi tape. You just want to make sure this is sealed at the bottom. And while that's drying, I'll go ahead and cut a piece for this. And I want it to be just a little bit smaller, remember? So I'm kind of moving it up just a little bit. And I'm going to cut just a little bit on that side of that line. So see if that fits. And so this is the top. See how that lines up with this, what's left. So it's just a little bit big, so I'm going to go ahead and chop off. And let that sit there for a minute and come back to this first one. So what we actually have is a little mini accordion pocket, right? So you're going to glue this. Oh, this is the bottom. I'm lining that up with that. Okay, so I'm going to let it stick out over here on this edge away from the fold. So, okay, so what I'm going to do is glue this to this tab. And so only in the center though. So I'm just going to do like a little, kind of like that, however wide you want it to be, like a 1/2 inch. And I'm going to glue that to that, making sure I don't have any brown showing anywhere around it except on the edges, and that's my fault. I should have trimmed this whole thing first before we did the paper bag, but that's fine. So now I'm going to glue this same way, just in the middle. And now I'm going to line this up as best I can at the bottom of the page and kind of center it. See how my bag's going to line up with the edge, and I'm still away from there, kind of off there a little bit, but I think it'll be okay. So there's that. So what you've got, I'm going to let it stick. Let's go on to the middle one. As soon as I figure out which one the middle one is. This is the top, here's the middle. Okay. So same thing, you've got your little bag here now that you've created. So put some glue somewhere in the middle of it. And make sure that you put it where it doesn't show on the top and bottom edge. Make sure you've got your artwork going the right way. And glue it. then put some glue on this side of it, same way, right in the middle. And this time now you're going to line it up with this picture that you've already glued in. And let that decide where everything goes. There. And then this one, same deal. Look at your little bag. Make sure you got the closed in at the bottom. And glue this to it. Just make sure there's no brown showing on the top or bottom. I'm using Barely Art glue, which allows me a little bit of leeway to move it if I need to. And then we're going to glue it in same way. Line this up with this bottom piece of artwork. Glue it in. It is off right there a little bit. I apologize for that. That's because of this bag sticking out. I had to adjust it, but I think it's okay. And then, oh, you know what I forgot to do? So for our closure, we're going to use a piece of lace. And actually, I think I'll use a piece of red. Okay, since it's Christmas, chop off a piece of ribbon here. Okay, should have done this before, didn't get it done. Let me see if it's going to let me. I think it'll let me do it since we're only glued in the middle. It's going to let me cheat. Do this ahead of time, people. Don't be like me. So I'm going to glue it as close to that. And actually I should have used Fabri-Tac too, but just, well, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to glue that in with that. Oh, you know what else I didn't do is I didn't ink it. That's all right, we'll ink it. Need a brad or something to wrap it around. And I think I'm just going to use, I mean, I could use that. It's got blue in it. But I like it because it's a little bit it's a little bit bigger. Got a little bit bigger head on it. So I'm going to go ahead and use that one. And I'm going to put it like right where it clears, where it doesn't inhibit that, but I'm going to get my awl and poke a hole. And actually that does kind of clip that, but I think you'll still be able to open it okay. Okay, and then you'll take your ribbon, which will be centered if you do it right, actually. It's driving me crazy that it's not in the middle. Probably bugging some of you too. So I'm just going to go ahead. Oh, in fact, I'm going to do that. I might as well use Fabri-Tac, right? Do it right the first time. Or second time. Or third time, or however many times it is. And glue the ribbon in. And then glue this bottom part back on. Glue this down, make sure it lines up with what's above it. And then this comes up here and wraps around this, and that's how you shut it. That's your closure. Okay? I'm going to go back and ink these. And again, if you're doing yours for the first time, ink it before you glue them in. Okay, so what we have are 4 little accordion pockets that you can put your prayers, or your little accordion pockets that you can put your whatever you're keeping track of, and then shut it with this. And this is spinning around because I don't have it glued on the back, but once I put something over that, which I guess I could do right now, and I think I'll use a piece of the precious Tim Holtz cloth washi tape, just because I think it's stronger maybe, or at least in my mind it is. And then we're going to go over that here in just a minute with another pocket of some sort, so this won't show, and that'll keep that in place. Okay, so that is that part of December. So now, pull this out. Oh, and actually, I'm going to use these pockets from the kit back here. That's my plan for that. So I'll lay those aside and back to that. But let's do December. And so we have the usual list of suspects here. We've got the tab, which is pink but not red. So I'm going to go over that just a little bit and make it look a little more like Christmas. Let's see, what's my reddest red? I guess it's the candied apple. And I'll do the little pocket as well, since have the ink out. There. So there's the December. And then I'm going to hit this pocket. Okay. And of course the card that's on each one. Okay, so I'm going to glue this little pocket on. Okay, so this is the one for here. I have some red foil scraps, and I'm thinking that I am going to cut these out. They've got different textures on them, and I'm going to kind of like scrap it using these red foil squares. Okay, so I've got my border glued in finally, and looks like if I move it up, I can cover that flash there. And I'm kind of thinking I'm going to add some red to this with this ink, just because it's so stark of a difference between the vintage photo and the red, the bright shiny red. So let me see, I don't know if this will help or hurt it, but I'm gonna add some red, candied apple, is that what it's called? Yeah, I just think that helps it go together a little bit better. All right, so I'm gonna glue this in. Make sure I get up there and cover that one little spot. And then we have the next page, which is this one. And I think I'm just going to look for, see if I have any scrapbook paper. And I've got all this red. Maybe I'll do a green, like a dark green, so it's not all red paper. And I'm going to use some distress ink to kind of push it to the Christmas green, I think. See if I can do that. Okay, so I'm going to glue that on. And then I'm going to get some of my green ink and see if I can make it Christmassy. And the other thing I could do, I have a doily, which, you know, doilies always kind of look like snowflakes. I just have a piece of one here. I mean, I could maybe just add that to the top. Add that little bit that I have left on the border up at the top and push it Christmas that way. Okay, so pine needles looks to me like it's pretty Christmassy. Let's see what I can do here. And I'm just gonna kind of rub it over the top. Okay, that looks a little more like Christmas to me as far as green. And then I'm going to eyeball this doily and glue that to the top. And I'm going to get out my gold, Bo Bunny gold paste. All right, so this is Bo Bunny stencil paste, gold stencil paste. And I believe I got it at scrapbook.com. Okay, so I pull this off. Never wanted to let anything go to waste. I'm going to run this around the edge if I can. Sort of gild the edges, so to speak. And I might as well get it on the other side too. I'm gonna have it all over everything. And it's getting all over me and this journal. So let me, it keeps hitting me. That's what I'm laughing at, is that I'm gonna sit this box here. I'm gonna wipe this, some of it, so it's a little thick here, I think. Wipe it back, let that dry, and then I'll come back and glue the pocket in. Okay, so I glued this over the background with the gold, which was quite a mess, as you can see. So now I've moved on to this page with the pocket, and I just used a sheet of my Christmas, I've got Christmas paper on Etsy that I made, that I designed, and I just cut a chunk out of that to use as a background. And now I'm looking for my pocket and I can't find one. So I've got this, I think this is supposed to be like a drink coaster, sort of like. And I've got several of them somebody gave me. And so I cut this one down. I cut the edge off because it was gonna be too big. And I think I'm gonna go over to the sewing machine and just stitch this right along here. And then I'll cut it after the fact. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and I'll be right back. Okay, so I stitched it here. Got my fabric scissors out so I could do a good job of this. Let's see. Let's see, I'm going to try and go on the far side of that dot. And trim that off. All right, so that's cute, right? Now I'm gonna go put my fabric scissors away so I don't use them on cardboard. But that is pretty much December. And on this page, I've been kind of leaving it open to write on, and I think I'm okay with that. So now I have this extra pocket here. I picked out a Christmas hymn, decided to use that for my background. So I'm going to glue that in, and then I'll ink it when I get that done. All right, then ink it. And I've got some cute red trim that I just have a little piece of, and I think I'm going to use this same page from my Etsy kit for Christmas. I'm going to use the corner of it for a pocket, and then I'm going to glue or sew the trim on the edge of it. So I've got that. And I've got this, which I think I want it to go this way. I don't know what the deal is with this pencil. I think I probably need to sharpen it. I keep using it and it keeps not making any mark. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna change the direction just slightly. So the pocket will be pretty wide, but that's all right. Okay, so now I'm gonna take this over to the machine. First, I'm going to sew this on, and then I'm going to take it and sew the pocket on, I think. No, actually, I don't need to sew it. I'm just going to sew this, and I'll come back and glue this in. Okay, be right back. Got this sewn on, so now I'm just going to glue it, and that is going to be it for December, and we will move on to the, we have one more set of pockets or something to put on, and then the cover, and that's it. Pretty excited to have this done. Guess I better not get too excited. I've still got to do the cover. So, and bind it. So, all right. So that's glued in. So that is December. A little bit fancier than the ones we've been doing, but we needed a little interest, didn't we? So now we'll come back and do this. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, click like and think about subscribing, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.